fine.
It's either the
I
voice
see.
or the heat.
Well, no, it's not too bad. Let's get warm first. But heat shouldn't be on the ceiling. Heat comes from below. Heat will just warm the ceiling up. It's weird, isn't it? Can we please close the door? I'm not very Buddhist or patient. Oh. Okay. Huh? Darling, you put it on yourself. You're not too cold. I can't believe it.
It's for you especially.
Okay. We're here? Good. All right. Okay. Here we are. So, we won't be doing too many prayers, I don't think. We might just say one every now and then. Okay? Okay. Maybe to start we can do a prayer. Do you make mandala offerings as requests for teachings here? You don't do that. Who's the boss today? David's the boss.
Yeah.
David's the boss.
Leora is the prayer boss.
I know that part I know. Oh, the prayer boss.
Yeah.
So do you normally make mandala offering before a teaching? To request the teaching? You do that? Normally? No?
Normally we start with the refuge.
No, but if you as the centre should make a... Don't you do that? You don't do that here?
Sometimes. So we have...
Well, it's auspicious to do it.
Yes. We have requested turn the wheel.
That's right, but we should start with the Saji Perky. You should start with the mandala offering, and then you should do the request to turn the wheel. Get some lava. So where's the mandala offering?
No, we don't have any.
Oh, come on, that's really inauspicious. In your beautiful prayer book, you don't have the mandala offering. I don't believe you.
We know it by heart, though.
You do have it, look. She's a prayer expert. So we should do, what we should do first, who's the umze here? Do you have an umze? Do you have a chant leader? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, darling, I think I want you to, let's do it. No, first you do the mandala. Leora can do it. First you do, what page is it? Tell the people. Tell the people the page. First, okay. The auspicious thing, this is Tibetan style, but it's auspicious meaning. The door is open still. Oh, someone's coming, okay. There we go. So what this is all these things have meaning, okay? You might think they're religion, but they have meaning. If they don't have meaning, don't do it. Sincerely. So the first prayer is really auspicious for the centre, for, Dharma Friends of Israel, to offer a mandala as a request to the person who's here, as if the Buddha's here, request for the teachings. And then the first one is, what you just imagine is you're offering all the marvellous things of the world, that make beings happy. You imagine piling them all up, and you offer. And then the next little one is requesting the teachings. So it's really auspicious to do that. Okay. Page what?
12.
Okay, so and then, page 12 on the other end, isn't it? Sorry, I'm Australian. There we go. So then we will typically, once you leave that, then typically the person who's teaching will leave the refuge prayer. That's typical. That's the protocol. Well, it's not on my page 12. Oh, here we go. 12. There it is. So the short mandala first, and then go to page 17 for some reason, and you'll have the prayer to request to turn the wheel of Dharma. 12 and 17. I think it's auspicious to say it in Tibetan if you like. Oh, it's the Tibetan in the English, it's not the Hebrew. Oh, there's no Hebrew. Oh, at the top. There it is, I get it. So why don't we just try and sing it in Tibetan? You know, is that okay with you, Leora? Yeah, sure. Sing in Tibetan? Yeah. So we do page 12 and then page 17, and then you can turn to the refuge prayer, which was on what page? 10, and I will lead that one. That's how it's done. Okay? Okay, go. So imagine all the marvellous things of the universe you're offering as a request for the teachings. That's the idea. Okay. Go. You're the Umse. You don't know the tune? Oh.
I don't know the tune.
Well, I will sing the tune. They know the tune. Saji perki jukshing metog trami rabingji ni de kien padi sange jingdu mi te urwagi drokon namda jingla now the other one. Page 17. Request to turn to a drama. Jetsun lama dampa kenam ki churku kala kense chutintik jita tampe duje zidmala Jabge Turkey Japa up to soul. That little mantra at the end, the Sanskrit mantra. Idam Guru Ratnamadalakam Niyatayami. And now, refuge tree, page 10. Okay? Sange charam soke chom namla janchu adu dagni kyab suchi dagi chernyen gipa. Okay, instead of jinsog, which is saying, the third line is saying by the merit of practicing generosity and the other perfections, that's all in jinsog. Instead of saying that, we're saying by the merit of listening to the teachings. It's the one you say before the teachings. Instead of jinsog, it's chernyen. Okay? Chernyen. So start again. Sange charam soke chom namla jancho badu dagni kyab suchi dagi chernyen gipa sonam ki jola peche sange drupasho sange charam soke chom namla jancho badu dagni kyab suchi dagi chernyen gipa sonam ki jola peche sange drupasho Sange charam soke chognamla Jamsho badu dagni kyab suchi Dagi chonyen gipa sonam ki Jola peche sange dropasho. Okay. So now this teaching that Shaha suggested, because he heard that I just finished editing Lama Yeshe's commentary on Mahamudra. And Wisdom is being published by Wisdom next year. So he's asked me, mentioned we should sort of talk about it, okay? So we'll talk about the teachings, because that's the main point. But it's a particular practice. So let me try and put it, as it says here, in the context of the bigger picture. It's important to understand it, okay? Okay, so the teaching, Mahamudra, is the term they use. I'm so sorry. The term is used by the Kargyupas and the Gelupas in the Tibetan tradition. To describe a particular practice that's a meditation practice on realizing emptiness. So you might have heard also Dzogchen. There's many other scenarios. The Sakyas have a certain style. There's many other terms. That is a variation, a similar type of meditation. Okay. So the sutra, certainly in the Gelupa one with Mahamudra, it's the commentary. The basis of this text is the first Panchen Lama, who is one of the main Gelupa scholars and yogis in the 17th century, 18th century. I forget now. Somewhere. So he before this, these particular teachings apparently were kept secret, and they were kind of passed down orally, and he was the first one to put them down on paper. And there's this little text, very short, and this is the basis of all the Gelupa teachings on Mahamudra. So traditionally it's taught, there's a sutra version of it and there's a tantra version of it. But always when you receive the teachings, as is the case here in Lama Yeshe's book, I've excerpted some of the teachings in this booklet here, which Lama Yeshe, who was my Lama, he was the Lama of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, who established the FPMT, he gave his teaching in Australia in 1981, and then before it, which is traditional, because even though the tantric one isn't always the teaching that's given, it's always given in the context of the highest one. So it was given in the context of first you're given an initiation into highest yoga tantra. In this case, Haruka Chakra Sambhara, because there's a tantric version of it, which is really essentially inner fire. Lama Yeshe's commentary on that is really marvellous, published by Wisdom. So the sutra teaching is the one we'll discuss, the sutra approach to it. If that noise is distressing, I don't mind if you turn the heater off. I'm content now. I'm happy now. I'm happy now. You can turn the heater off. But it's kind of warmed us up a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very good. All right? No.
Good.
This is one off too. This is on still. This is on.
It's quieter.
It's quieter too, but it is on.
Yes.
Yeah.
What number is it?
23.
Who?
23.
That's ridiculous. It should be 28. Put it up. Come on, you people. Are you trying to save money or something? 23 is a cool number. I think you guys are starting to used to winter, that's all.
Yeah, that's right.
Put it up to 28. Have you got the machine? Huh? They charge you extra percentage if you put it up high. You don't even know where the machine is. What's going on?
That's all.
Gonna find the control.
Well, there you go. Put it up. Come on, quick. Then it'll keep the whole place warm.
I'm doing my best.
28. Try 28. If you faint over there, we'll turn it down.
I'm sitting in the right place.
It's happening. There it is. That's it. Well done. Okay. So when we hear Mahamudra and we hear Dzogchen, we get very excited. Because you hear it's this special meditation technique. You hear, so you hear, I didn't bring my iPad. I'll read you some tomorrow. Lama Yeshe's book is just beautiful. So in the book, they talk about the approach to Mahamudra because it's just meditation. In reality, it's really advanced. But it kind of sounds easy because it's very much, it's totally experiential. The whole approach is like if you did a Mahamudra retreat, you wouldn't read any teachings. You wouldn't, as Lama says in his book, no, there's no God, there's no Dharma, there's no Buddha, there's no philosophy, no compassion, no this, no that. It's just practice. So this sounds very exciting. So people kind of figure, especially the Dzogchen people, you figure you don't need to do anything else. Well, as Lama Yeshe says, if you can keep bliss and concentration 24 hours a day, indeed, you don't need to do anything else. But who can do that? Good evening. Come on in. Right. You got a chair? They got a chair?
We have been in another class.
What?
We made a mistake and we went to another place.
Oh my God, I'm
And
so
then I
sorry.
was sitting there and
Waiting.
they start to meditate, and it was not so nice to go and to understand that I'm not in the,
The right place. Oh my God, I'm glad you made it, Ruth.
But no.
Okay, so what is Mahamudra? Well, if you've heard the teachings, you know about the two kinds of meditation in Buddhism. That's it. There's two modes of meditation. Millions of types, but ways of doing them, but essentially two modes. So one is called concentration meditation, or shamatha, and one is called insight meditation, or vipassana. So Buddha taught many kinds of vipassana. Vipassana means insight. So the one that's most popular in the world, that's practically its own religion now, is the one that in the Hinayana level, where Buddha taught this particular technique to help you become familiar with the different sensations of your body as a technique to help us develop insight into impermanence. And it's a marvellous technique. I mean, I've never done it, but it's there, and it's Buddhist technique. So that's the purpose of it. But in the Mahayana, the one is called special insight, special insight, one of the translations of the term. So, classically, you get so in this case, special insight is referring to insight into emptiness. All the teachings of Lord Buddha, all the teachings on karma, the mind, renunciation, all the wisdom wing teachings lead to realizing emptiness, because that's what cuts the root of delusions, that's what gets us out of samsara, that's what quits suffering, you know. So Mahamudra is a practice utilizing these two modes of meditation, and it's a specific practice of how to realize emptiness. It's a particular practice. You know, that's all. It's very specific. And there's lots of, as always, with all these meditations, there's so much misunderstanding and cliched views about it, you know. So it's, and Lama's commentary is very short, but it's very, very delicious. You know, I think Shuki we talked about him kind of translating it and trying to publish it. So it's a very short little book, but very, very tasty, very beautiful teaching. And the particular for me, the unique characteristic, of course, he's my teacher, but he had this extraordinary way to communicate, Lama Yeshe. He met Westerners like in the mid-60s. He had come from Tibet in 59. Lama Zopa, who's his main disciple, is now also my root teacher. He's 10 years younger than Lama. He came from Nepal. They both met in Buxa, which is as Lama Zopa would refer to it, this concentration camp. A place like a prison that used to be like a concentration camp, Lama Zopa called it, during the time of the British, and all the Tibetans were sent there. You know, it was like hell for them. They dropped like flies, dying from TB and diarrhea and all this kind of business. It was really intense for them. Anyway, so all the monks gathered there. And that's where Lama Zopa met Lama Yeshe when he was 15 or something, and Lama Yeshe was 25, soon after they left Tibet. So, soon after that, they were in Darjeeling, and Lama Zopa was recovering from TB. Then that's where they met their first Western students. What happened? Why was I telling you that? Oh, your Lama's so he started learning English already, and apparently Lama Zopa started learning English as well when he was a little boy at this place. And he said he started memorising the dictionary and memorising Time magazine, because that's how they learn things, they memorise. So he gave up that after a while, I think. So anyway, they must have had the intimation they were going to get Western English-speaking students, you know. So Lama Yeshe, even then, his English was quite remarkable. He seemed to have an instinctive... I mean, if you've heard traditional Tibetan Lamas teach, or read traditional Tibetan teachings, you know it is literally medieval. They were stuck in medieval times, which is advantageous to us because they didn't lose the teachings. But literally the way their context, the way they talk, it's arcane language, you know, arcane structure. I mean, all I know is when I heard Lama Zopa teach for the first time, I didn't have a clue what he was saying. It was like literally medieval. And the way they structure the teachings and present them is very authentic, it's beautiful, because it's kept it alive, you know. But the way Lama Yeshe taught, almost from the beginning, was this, he had completely chaotic language, completely crazy English, but extraordinary choice of words, and he talked in a really psychological way like modern people. It was quite remarkable that he could get that, you know, but it's chaotic. I mean, sometimes when I'm editing him, I don't know what he's talking about, you know, you've got to really kind of intuit the meaning. So Lama taught, he was a scholar and he was a yogi, but you would never think he talked like a hippie. So it sounds when you read him he's talking like a hippie, but he's made up his own words, he's got his own concepts, but he's an incredible scholar. So it's really easy to misinterpret, but it really brings these teachings down to earth, you know. It's so clear. So you do Mahamudra. In the Tibetan tradition, you wouldn't do it when you're, like a traditional one, you're a monk, you're a little boy, you go to the monastery, you start studying seriously. And then, like as Lama said, he was there when he was 6 at Serajay Monastery. He was there starting from the age of 6. He did all his began his philosophical studies about the age of 13, and then by the time he was like 21 or 22, in the upper classes, probably when you're studying middle way, then you'd go to something like listening to teachings on Mahamudra, you know. So that's when he first heard them. And so then he said, the big thing about it's very interesting, and I think in the course notes I've extracted this part of the book for you. We'll discuss it here. I'll talk about it. Yeah, Lama says beyond words. There it is. There are two approaches. Basically, Lama's saying that Mahamudra means great seal. This is page 5. Great seal, a seal, you know, like when you, like old-fashioned day when you seal, like with the, you know, seal something, right. And so also, and you even have it now, like when you do contracts and things, or get a mortgage, they'll put a seal on it. So it's like a guarantee, and that's the term is referring to emptiness, basically. Because emptiness is like the one thing that determines the reality, the entire universe. Emptiness is the character of the universe. Emptiness is how things exist. You know, so as Lama says, you know, It's a great seal, he says. Then he says, however, this seal, no, so he says, you know, when you lend me $100, you make a contract. We seal it, don't we? But however, this seal, this great seal, is not a physical seal made in a factory. It's the universal reality of emptiness, non-duality, non-self-existence. It exists in all phenomena, including sentient beings. It is also not some. It's also not some made-up philosophical concept. It doesn't matter whether you accept it or deny it. If I say I don't believe there's an earth, I don't believe there's a sun, who cares? Even though I reject the existence of the sun, I'm standing in the rays of the sun. Even though I deny the existence of the earth, I'm standing on the earth. The reality of non-duality is inescapable. It's the inborn nature of all phenomena. It exists equally in all things, organic, non-organic, permanent, impermanent, including all beings, exists always within us. The name we give it is Mahamudra. So even that way of talking is very delicious, but if you don't even know a little bit the meaning of emptiness, it seems very cosmic, you know. It seems like something delicious in there. It almost, you can think of it as sort of the alternative for a soul or something. Because it sounds so rich, you know, delicious. But it's just this way they've taught over the centuries, the way they talk about it, and it's coming from the experience of the yogis, you know. Mahamudra brings you beyond fear. The trouble is we totally believe in exactly the opposite of non-duality. We grasp at a dualistic me, a self-existent, real, separate me. We've been grasping at it since we're in our mother's womb. Actually, the belief in this simultaneously born ego has been with us since beginningless time. It's beyond intellectual. Even ants and dogs have it. And then, as the great Mahayana scholar Champakurti points out, this primordial belief in a separate me creates the concept of other. And from this tremendous gap comes the evolution of all of samsara. So to knock out this hallucinated vision. You know, the term in Tibetan for the word we would translate as affliction, you read His Holiness, you read all the Tibetans, that's the word in Sanskrit, klesha. It's probably the only word they really use mostly to refer to the disturbing emotion, the term they use. And the term we translate in English is affliction. Well, I mean, I mentioned this before, but it's completely medieval. Nobody in English uses that word in their daily life. But that's why when we hear it, you kind of think, oh, that's religion, it's different. Well, it's not different, you know. It's all the neuroses in us. Buddha would have liked the word neurosis, I tell you. And I'm not kidding here, I've said this before, but I'll say it again and we'll go into this. But my feeling is, understanding what Buddha means by klesha, affliction, it's a disturbing state of mind that is also delusional, it's a liar. A really good word for it, translated in our culture, and you'll be shocked, but it's literally correct, is the word mental illness. So anger is a mental illness. Attachment is a mental illness. Jealousy is a mental illness. Now, we don't think so in the world, we just call them natural. But Buddha says they're all mental illnesses, you know, which is really interesting. But that word is so accurate, but it's too shocking for our ears, you know. So Lama being so kind, he never uses the word affliction. It's the correct word. I worked out he's got 21 different synonyms in this book that he has made up to try to convey to us the meaning of this word affliction or disturbing emotion. So that's one of them. Where is it? Where is it? I just read it.
Hallucinated vision.
Yeah, where is that? What page?
6.
Oh, okay, that term, yeah. Hallucinated vision. It sounds ridiculous. That's one of his synonyms for disturbing emotion. Hallucinated vision. It conveys something. So anyway, to knock out this hallucinated vision, we must realise Mahamudra, non-duality. Emptiness, in other words. The realisation of Mahamudra cuts the wrong conceptions and destroys the nuclear energy of ego. This is revolutionary, more revolutionary than any political ideology, and it brings you totally beyond fear. Mahamudra is the antidote to fear. So beautiful. So if you're thinking it's all about emptiness, you're right. The teachings are no different, but the unique approach of Mahamudra, the way of presenting the universal reality of consciousness, or all phenomena, is the emphasis on meditation. The experience of emptiness rather than the explanation of what it means, you know. So, quoting now from the text of Panchen Lama, The text says, between the two approaches of seeking meditation on the basis of the view and seeking the view on the basis of meditation, the explanation here follows the second approach. So we usually hear that Lama Tsongkhapa, our founder, the Gelugpa, says that first we study, then we analyse, then we meditate. In other words, we should seek meditation on the basis of the view. What that means is, and this is how we learn most things in our world. You want to practice music, you first listen to the theory. You think about it, and then you play the piano. If you want to learn to make a cake, you listen to the theory, the recipe, you think about it, and then you make the cake. I said cake before, I meant piano. Whatever I said. You understand my point? It's nothing special. We don't think it's mystical. It's logical procedure. Now that's Tsongkhapa. That's the classic way to do it. That's what Lama Yeshe did in the monasteries. That's the way you study. It's the only way I ever do it. That's the way I ever talk. Listen to the theories, think about it, and then the way I present, which is the Tsongkhapa style. And it's the normal style in all the Tibetan Buddhist approach. It's the Buddhist approach. You study, listen to it first, think about it, and then you begin to experience the reality of those concepts. But when it comes to spiritual, we get so confused and neurotic and weird, It's very deep inside us. So very often people say, because they hear about Mahamudra, and it's just practice. Many people do only mindfulness. Many people do only Zen. Many people do only meditation, believing that all the rest is just mere concepts and boring. It has no relevance, It's a massive misunderstanding. It's an unbelievable misrepresentation of Buddha's views of the universe, So, but nevertheless, Mahamudra is exactly that. So in other words, it's almost really, I remember one Nyingma Lama, he taught, his main teaching was Dzogchen. He taught always just Dzogchen. He said years and years and years of teaching Dzogchen. He finally said, no one's getting anything, so he started the basics. Refuge, Bodhicitta, all the typical teachings. Because it's actually advanced. The person who's capable of getting any experience from Mahamudra is a person who's done all the practice already. That's the point, So we really can easily hear that you don't need to do all the practice, you don't need it, it's just meditation. It's such a misconception. It's like thinking you can put your hands on the piano and suddenly Mozart comes through. If you're really advanced, yes. Like you look on YouTube, you're going to find these little 3-year-old girls playing Mozart. You can't believe your eyes. So when you have the view of karma, you know they've come fully programmed into this life with Mozart inside them. They've got music because they've done it before. Any little children who are geniuses at any knowledge is because they practiced it before. That's karma. That's why I explained it so easily. In the West we can't explain it, it's just mystical. So how come these great yogis come into this life? One of Lama Zopa's students, this amazing Lama called Kundras, many Kundras, it's a general term for female lamas. She hasn't been here, has she? Lama Zopa's Kundra? No. Any Kundras been here? Any female lamas been here? Known as Lama, called Lama. Haven't, okay. So anyway, she's a Tibetan, and Lama Zopa said she was kind of born as Vajrayogini. She showed the aspect of never having to study a single word. Which doesn't mean that, Dalai Lama studied words and study, he went through the process, but he's already a Buddha. But she showed the aspect of being just a pure yogini, So if you're that fortunate, you've got all the realizations in your mind when you get born, and you don't need to study, it's absolutely obvious. If you can sit down at the piano and internalise Mozart in 3 minutes, which some children can, it implies they've done the work already, which is the understanding of karma. So it makes sense, they don't need to bother. It's true, it's clear. So we're so fortunate to have so many realizations, and Mahamudra is perfect. You'll get realizations very quickly. If you haven't, then you've got to do all the hard work first. It's very obvious. But nevertheless, it's still a very delicious practice. We need to attempt to do it, and Lama's so encouraging, encourages it to try to do it. Are we communicating someone? Mm-hmm. Okay. Am I talking too fast?
No.
Yes?
Yes.
Oh. You got the idea? Okay. I think in about 1997 or something in Tushita, this group of Israelis had a placard like at demonstrations. Every time I talked too fast, they put it up. It said, go slow. Okay. So I'll try and be my own placard. Okay. So basically this is the approach. What it means, seeking meditation on the basis of the view simply means the view means you've studied it already, you've studied it, and now you meditate on it, which is the classic one. But the Mahamudra approach, you go straight to meditation to get some experience of it, and then understanding comes after that. And the fact is,